EBLI, evidence-based literacy instruction, doesn't suffer necessarily anymore from not having been taught how to read.
His writing, his speaking.
And so, you know, we don't have the right to give up on kids.
So what is EBLI? Again, it's a set of activities and strategies, and everything that I will teach you in the next 3 days is based on what the research says you need to do to teach anybody to read to their highest potential, okay? And we aren't looking at, oh, we want them to grade level. I mean, if they're at grade level, that's, you know, a good start, of course, but as high as they can go. We have second graders reading at a 5th grade level or an 8th grade level, and, you know, 6th graders reading at a 12th grade level. We want to move them as far as they can go, which is typically a whole lot further than we think that they are. That they're able to. So everything that we're going to teach you is based on what the research says that you need to do to teach somebody how to read. So our goal is to get everybody reading as well as they can. Now people will say, well, you'll see when our little squares and the spellings and all that kind of thing. What about comprehension? That's always the #1 question that people want to know, because it's like building a house. There's no point of building a house except for to live in it. You know, you don't want to spend a year or 10 years or 12 years building the roof. You want to build the house and then live in it. Same thing with reading. There's no point of reading except for comprehension. But you've got to have all those pieces in place, and you've got to build the house, basically, before you can get to the comprehension. So every single thing that we do here with EBLI instruction is based on a focus of increasing your accuracy in reading, your speed in reading, and most of all your comprehension. Understanding what you're reading, freeing up your working memory so that you can use your higher level thinking skills and your metacognition, you know, to compare and contrast and debate and do all that good stuff that you want to do with the reading, okay? So all these things that we're doing, goal is for comprehension. No matter how old your kids are or how well they read, from 2nd grade on, definitely 3rd grade on, we're doing remediation, okay? From that point, they're supposed to be reading to learn, not learning to read. So we're doing remediation and moving them, you know, to their highest point. And at that point, typically you're doing EBLI and infusing it into what you're already doing in your classroom if you're a classroom teacher. Now with your one-on-one and your really low kids, I always say every school should have an intensive care unit, which means you should have a place where the kids go temporarily that are reading 2 or more years below grade level so that they can have one-on-one instruction to move them so that they can operate in a classroom easily. All your kids, their issues with reading are different from each other. And also when you get 3rd grade and older, these kids are not, especially you get into the middle school and the high school age, they don't want to air their dirty laundry. They don't want everybody else to know their issues. So you put them in a group or a whole class, you get a lot of behavior issues when you're trying to fix their real low-level stuff. So we always say, and sometimes schools resist this a little bit, but you need an intensive care unit. I mean, for 12 hours of instruction, if even that, 6 to 12 hours of instruction, where they're coming through once a week, and boom, you know, then they're out and they can operate in their classroom. But otherwise, we want you to incorporate what you're going to learn the next 3 days into what you're already doing in your classroom, because I don't know a single teacher who wants more work or has time for more work or needs that, okay? So there's a lot of flexibility in what you do and how you do it with EBLI. With EBLI, you know, we want to look at effectiveness, efficiency, and also who can teach this and who can learn this. As far as effectiveness, the difference with a lot of thinking is, well, I know a few kids that this can work with. I've got a few low kids that this will be good with. I want you to look at every student that you ever teach. I've taught people going for their doctorate, people going to law school, to medical school, all kinds of people with EBLI, and greatly increase their reading speed, which is a problem when you have to do all that reading stuff. So look at your kids who are gifted. I love AP classes, especially AP Calculus and those math classes for kids. So your highest kids and your lowest kids will all benefit from doing this. So instead of thinking, oh, there's a smaller subset that will benefit from this, all of your kids will for sure. And the other thing is efficiency. That's huge, because most things, if you call some reading place and they'll say, well, in a matter of, it's usually hundreds of hours, sometimes over 3 years or that type of thing. In special ed, we don't even test our kids only every 3 years. What's that saying? What are we expecting for nothing really to happen, right? So if we're talking about a matter of years and you've got a 7th grader and they're reading at a 3rd grade level, okay, and even if you've got a program that says we're going to increase your kids a grade level in a year, now they're in 8th grade and they're at a 4th grade level, you know, theoretically, if that really even happened. And then in 9th grade, if they never ever catch up. So we don't have the luxury of slowing down, you know, and doing this stuff that takes hundreds of hours. And that's the difference with EBLI. Typically, The average amount of time here at our reading center when we're working one-on-one is about 12 hours of instruction. Sometimes for our high school kids it's 2 hours. Sometimes for kids who have cognitive issues it's up to 30 hours. But basically it's about 12 hours of instruction. Again, EBLI works beautifully whole class. I'll show you what that looks like. We love small groups and learning centers. It's interesting to me that in kindergarten they always do small groups and learning centers, and then we pretty much don't do that anymore. I would love to see it K-12, having learning centers where you've got a teacher-led one and some independent ones. EBLI works beautifully with that. And then for a certain percentage of kids, your low-level kids, one-on-one. So anybody really can teach it, okay? And the only way you get good at EBLI is by doing it. It's kind of like teaching a kid to read. In first grade, we don't say we're going to teach them to read for an hour and all of a sudden they're going to pick up a book and do it. You've got to learn the skills and the concepts and that type of thing. Then you have to practice it and get enough repetition to become proficient and automatic. Same with EBLI. Teachers say all the time after the first year, they're like, man, these kids went further than I'd ever thought before, but the second year, we went twice as fast, So you will just become more and more efficient. You could read this binder all day long. It'd be kind of boring, I think, but you could. You would never know how to teach EBLI just by reading the binder. The only way it works so that you get good at it is actually doing it with another person or another group of people. So.